Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bobcat Corner. This is episode number 58. And this is Stephen Vitt coming back to you again with more developments, more news, and college football and college sports in general. And we have like a few topics to talk about for this episode. So without further ado, let's just get right to it. So let's start off with this article written by Pete Nakos of On3. It's titled "Transfer Portal Changes Loom as NCAA Division One Board of Directors Set to Vote on New Governance Model." Now, this has been talked about by a lot of college football fans, myself included, about governance and what's going on there. And there is a strong likelihood, a strong chance that the governance model of NCAA college sports is going to change very radically here very soon, and probably sooner than what a lot of us think. So I'm going to read a little bit of this article written by Pete Nakos, just a little bit of it, so you guys can get the gist of what's going on here with this topic. And then I'm going to go on to a graphic that I just made, showcasing something related to the G number level conferences. So let's start with this article. Written by Pete Nakos. The college football season kicks off in less than a month, but the amount of time players have to enter the transfer portal following the 2025 season could still change. The NCAA Division One Board of Directors is scheduled to meet on August 5th, which is a few days from now. Today is August 2nd when I'm doing this, for a video conference call to vote on recommendations from the Division One decision-making working group. Among the changes the working group has proposed is cutting 30 committees and providing the Power Four conferences more control to steer Division One governance outcomes. That right there is a key sentence to read and reread, guys. If the proposal passes, the structure would be implemented effectively on September 1st, the very beginning of September, phasing in over time as committees are populated. Let me reread that one sentence. Among the changes the working group has proposed is cutting 30 committees and providing the Power Four conferences more control to steer Division One governance outcomes. Yeah, let that one sink in. And going on here, the proposed model would grant the power conferences as much as 65% weighted voting power in rules making committees for decisions on the transfer portal and athlete eligibility, among other topics. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, yeah, he's recently said he'd like that percentage to move up to 68%. Specifically, the move would reduce the layers of review, opening a pathway to an accelerated legislative process. At the proposed 65%, all Power Four conferences would have to vote in unison to pass an item. And I'm going to stop reading that article right there. I'm going to provide a link to that article down in the description box below so you guys can read it in your own spare time. And Pete Nakos, he wrote that article on July 29th. So just initial thoughts on that, what I just read there. Obviously, it does not come as a surprise to me. What I'm seeing developing with the governance of college sports, and of course, Greg Sankey had to chime in. Yeah, Mr. Wonderful. But yeah, it's not surprising at all. And so we've been hearing a lot of rumors, a lot of hints, and a lot of speculation that this is going to go down very soon, and probably sooner than what a lot of us are thinking. And they're going to set to have a vote on this on August 5th. I'm recording this on the 2nd of August, so we're talking about a few days from now, from this point. So if this thing passes and they adopt a new governance model, then you're going to see a lot of significant changes here with college sports, the structure of it, and not just just deciding on what rules to pass and what protocols to conduct. It could really mean as much as more subdivisions within Division One, and that has been talked about a lot within circles of college football fans alike, especially with one I know, Bill, that college football guy. I'm going to be giving him multiple shout outs throughout this episode. Here's the first one, Bill. And so, yeah, there's probably going to be more subdivisions within Division One. Uh, when exactly, effectively, I'm not sure, but I could tell it's going to happen at some point. And if when it does happen, I'm not going to be surprised, and I'm fine with it. Personally, I'm fine with it. And if these further subdivisions mean that the rest of us in the G number level group of conference conferences, if it means that we're like you know get ourselves away from the Power Four conferences and not really not really associate ourselves with them, especially when it comes to postseason conversations, then honestly, so be it. Long term, big picture, guys, so be it. Because it's pretty obvious that the group of five, group of six conferences are never going to get any acknowledgement, any real significant acknowledgement with this postseason format with the current college football playoff. It's hard enough that we even get one team in it. We're assured one spot, but that's all we're probably going to get, no matter how much the tournament expands, because we're already talking about expanding the field to 16 teams, and guess what? The G number level conferences are still getting one spot. Now, what do you think is going to happen if we were to expand it even more to like 24 teams or something like that? Oh, and guess what? The group of six conferences, you only get one spot. Do you see what's going on here? If you're following a G number level conference school, do you see what's going on here? I mean, I can clearly see it. And I think long term, big picture, it's just not a good deal for us. And we have to start making other plans for us for the G number level conferences. And honestly, who cares what the Power Four conferences think? The leadership of them, who cares what they think? So with that, I want to segue into real fast what I have here, a graphic. I want to share with you real fast because I'm not going to take too much time to talk about this. G number conferences tournament. Now, it's pretty straightforward. You could review this little, you know, concept bracket that I have here on the left of this graphic. Just a sample, just like an example of what could happen here. Let me read the text here. All six G6 conference champions, assuming it's just six conferences, all conference champions are represented in this tournament format, plus two at larges. So that means, everyone's represented. American Conference, Sun Belt Conference, Conference USA, the MAC, Pac-12, and Mountain West. They're all represented in this. All their conference champions, they're represented. That's six. So you just add two more to it, two at larges. The next two best, uh, G number level schools, whoever they are, and that will probably be determined by, you know, I mean, I hate to say it, committee, but there probably might be like some sort of process, like it's like you really determine it by like point system, which I kind of hinted at a previous episode of Bobcat Corner. You could do something like that, but let's not worry about that right now. Further reading here, this could change if entire FCS conferences move up to join the G6 in the same subdivision. Now, that's possible as well that some, like one or two FCS conferences, might jump up and join G6. It might happen, especially if there's no real limitations economically for them to do it. So you always got to keep that possibility in mind. If the G6 get their own playoff, here's the main point I want to make. If the G6 get their own playoff, they'll be better off instead of never getting more than one bid in the current CFP, what we have now. They can have their own stage featuring 8 teams in theory. Now, it's what I mentioned in like a recent podcast, recent stream, chatting, with others, the Big Mountain. Um, this is what I wrote down. If the G6 get their own playoff, they'll be better off. Instead of never getting more than one bid in the current CFP, they can have their own stage featuring 8 teams in theory. And I'm like, why not? We're sitting here, begging for approval from the Power Four conferences, and I'm here going like, why? Long term, big picture, why are we doing this? Why are we continuing to do this? Basically, bang our heads against the wall, so to speak. It's like, oh, can we have one bid? Oh, can we have one more bid, two bids? we shouldn't have to do that. At some point, especially if this is going to go down with governance, the changes in governance, and there's like speculation that there's going to be like actual splits, actual more subdivisions. Why not do this? Why not have a G number, conferences tournament, 18 tournament, completely separate from the current college football playoff? Why not do this? And as you can see here in this graphic that I have, in quote marks in the final in the bracket, G number national conference, G number national championship final, and that's basically it. Now I'm gonna keep this graphic up for a little bit for you guys to see, just to check out, so you guys can just take in and analyze. And that's basically a concept. It's not rocket science. It's something that I think could easily be done, and it's something that everybody associated with the group of five, group of six conferences should consider doing. Because I don't think, especially in the cases of the Big Ten, the SEC, I don't think that the G number level conferences are ever going to get their acknowledgement, postseason wise. So let's just consider that. So yeah, governance. Read that article by Pete Nakos. It's very interesting. It does highlight like a further thing going on here down the road. So let's just get that out of the way. So anyway, let's just transition to another topic, and that would be ACC. A conference that I've talked about off and on here on this show, and we're talking about replacements, expansion candidates, because there is a strong likelihood that the ACC is going to lose members down the road. So I come up with this other graphic here, and here again, shout out to Bill, that college football guy, second shout out, and I'm going to put this up on screen so you guys can check out kind of a kind of a fun theme that I've taken on here when making this graphic. It's like it is like a mystery when it comes to ACC and whatever they're going to do to replace their members that they're going to lose, like UNC, North Carolina. It's pretty much a guarantee they're going to the SEC at some point. They just are. They're going to the SEC at some point, North Carolina. And who's going to go with them? Don't know. It's going to be some sort of combination. Uh, it could be Virginia, it could be Florida State, Clemson, some sort of combination. So with that in mind, the ACC, they're destined to lose some members. So who comes in? That's the question here. That's a mystery. And what does a good mystery need? It needs some content, right? So I put kind of jokingly here in this graphic, expansion candidates for the ACC. It's academic, my dear college football fans. I know, a little joke there. But yeah, when you think about it, it's not just about athletics. It's not just about, what happens on the football field. We like to think it's just about that, but it's not. A lot of it goes into economics. A lot of it goes into, hate to say it, but academics, as you're going to see here. And it's just R1 status, AAU status, you know, ranking, QS World University, Forbes Top 100, US News and World Report. So there's a lot that goes into this. Um, so I'm going to share this graphic with you guys here so you guys can check it out. And so it takes a lot of studying here for you guys to look up. I'm going to provide some links here to these lists: QS World University, Forbes Top 100, US News and World Report, what people are looking at. And Bill, that college football guy, he first presented this case, so to speak, and here's the list of the schools that prime suspects, as I call them, prime suspects. You know, 9 schools that fit the bill when you're looking at all these lists. Let's go through this list of suspects, shall we? Rice University, Rice Owls, Tulane, Tulane Green Wave, UC Davis Aggies, South Florida Bulls, Buffalo Bulls, Arizona Wildcats, Utah Utes, Colorado Buffaloes, Kansas Jayhawks. Now, it's not surprising about that list when it comes to academics because, in some shape or form, they've always considered academics as part of their core, for their foundation. So with Rice, that's not a surprise because they don't have a lot to talk about when it comes to athletics, but academically speaking, Rice fits the bill. So if you want something for a buffer academically speaking, Rice would fit the bill. Tulane, yeah, they've known to be a good research university at times. They've had recent success on the field, but also academically, they've been, getting it done. South Florida, they've been making moves, well-rounded in their case. UC Davis, they've been up and coming in the FCS ranks. Although in UC Davis, in their case, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think so because UC Davis has like more hurdles to jump over compared to everybody else here. So it's more likely that they just wind up as a full-time member for the Mountain West Conference for a little bit. I don't think they're going to make such a significant jump here at the ACC, but never say never. Buffalo Bulls, that's more like hitting home to the MAC, Mid American Conference, and I've talked about Buffalo a little bit lately. Buffalo is further along academically speaking compared to a lot of other MAC schools. Buffalo's been in talks, been in the conversations of people. It's like, oh yeah, Buffalo does well academically. They do their research, they're further along than others in this conference in the MAC. So you've heard it a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, there's Buffalo. Yeah, so that kind of thing. So I'm not surprised by that either. Arizona's been quiet. Probably one of the most quiet schools on this list there, Arizona. You don't know where Arizona's going. Although they, Utah, and Colorado, they made up 3 of the 4 corner schools that left the Pac-12 to join the Big 12. So if they can make such a big jump in that sense once, why wouldn't they do it again? Just a possibility. So Arizona's been quiet. We'll have to see if Arizona goes anywhere when it comes to press releases and stuff like that. We don't know. Now Utah, on the other hand, they have been really they've been really out there when it comes to rumor mill stuff. By fans, of course, but still rumor mill stuff, speculation that oh Utah's not really happy being in the Big 12. Oh, maybe they can be in the Big 10 and all that. Which has not been proven. And so, Utah's always been talking. There's always been some sort of talk surrounding Utah. So I'm not surprised by this that they made this kind of suspect list, so to speak. And Colorado, in their case, Colorado they started it. They basically started it with the corner schools jumping to the Big 12. It was Colorado that got the engine going. So I'm not surprised Colorado made this list. Would these 3 schools in particular, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, fit the bill for the ACC eventually? Maybe, but as of right now, though, the Big 12 is in a better position than the ACC. So right now, as of right now, I don't see that happening. But again, never say never. That's just my opinion. Never say never. That's all I am saying. And Kansas, again, current Big 12 school, would they make the jump to the ACC? Again, I don't see it. And the reason why Kansas is being brought up is because, well, again, in circles among college football fans, Kansas has been talked about for expansion for other conferences, mainly the SEC. So it catches me off guard because it's like, why Kansas? They have a great basketball brand, no doubt about it. Football, they got to still do work there on the football field. Kansas academically, though, yeah, I could see it from the academic standpoint alone. I could see why Kansas would be tossed around as a candidate. It's just interesting. Kansas is more like a wild card kind of candidate, in my opinion. Again, never say never, but when you see all this formulate, when you see all this develop the way that it is, you have to keep an eye on these universities now. I say all 9 of them because they made all these lists that we're talking about here, which is very interesting. And key witnesses, real fast, key witnesses: Army, Navy, Air Force. Even I'm throwing in Air Force, even though Bill did not mention Air Force, but I'm going to mention it because you never say never. Army, Navy, Air Force, they're not particularly bound by this, the academic rankings, but they do play a part. They do play a part in the decision making of expanding conferences. Uh, there's like a long term thing about the American Conference. How happy are Army and Navy in the American Conference exactly? And Air Force, how long are they going to stay in the Mountain West? It's uncertain. It really is uncertain. So you can't count out any of those military academies. And one thing about the Ivy League, and I mentioned the Ivy League as key witnesses here, all those schools in the Ivy League. Again, FCS conference, it's not likely, not all that likely that the Ivy League would actually do it. Again, never say never. You never know what's going to happen 5, 10 years from now. But interesting talk surrounding the Ivy League because they've been popping up a little bit more lately, especially when it comes to economics. And one thing that I randomly came across on my YouTube feed, I was not looking for this, but I just happened to stumble across this. A video featuring Face the Nation. I know mainstream media, I don't like mainstream media, but I came across it. I just analyzed it for a little bit. It featured the Ohio State University president, Ted Carter. He was on this show, Face the Nation, and he had something to mention around the 2:20 mark, 2 minutes 20 second mark to like 3 minutes, 3 minute mark. Uh, he had something to say about the Ivy League, which caught my attention, which kind of connects to this. It's about how economic losses, how like funding from the federal government and all that. Oh, how the Ivy League got impacted a lot more than the Ohio State University. Very interesting comments there, if you ask me. So go check out that video. I'm going to link that video down below so you guys can check it out, especially from 2 minutes 20 seconds to 3 minutes around that area. Check out that part of that video. So yeah, I'm going to be taking a little mini break before I come back here. I am going to be talking about the Ohio Bobcats, their 2025 regular season schedule. I'm finally going to be talking about it a little bit more in depth. I'm going to be sharing this schedule with you guys. So I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about it and what to really expect in the 2025 season. So get ready for that. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back with my thoughts on the upcoming 2025 regular season for the Ohio Bobcats football team. And just going to get right to it. I've already talked about this in previous episodes, a few episodes ago, but I'm just going to have more of an expanded version here of my thoughts here, which is just going to take a few minutes though. I'm putting this on the screen for you guys to see. These are my thoughts as of right now, and these are basically going to be my final thoughts before the season actually begins as to what I think could possibly go down for the Ohio Bobcats in 2025. The schedule is right there for you guys to see on your screen. And so when you look at this, let's just go through this game by game real fast. Thursday, August 28th, 6 p.m. start at Piscataway, New Jersey. We're going to be visiting Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I'm hoping that's going to be a lot like what happened last year in the season opener when we traveled to Syracuse. I'm hoping it has a similar feeling to that, the game against Syracuse last year. I'm hoping that we can hang with Rutgers. There's going to be a lot of variables. To consider here. This is the first game for both teams, so you don't know what's going to happen here. You don't know what you're getting out of Ohio. You don't know what you're getting out of Rutgers. Talent alone, everyone's just going to go with Rutgers because Big Ten team, MAC team. I get it, totally understand that. But you don't know. Any given day in college football, an upset happens. But here I have it listed as a loss. I'm just hoping that we're competitive. I'm hoping that the Ohio Bobcats are going to be able to show up and just really stay mentally sharp, even if it's a loss. So there's that. But the next game, and I keep having this feeling, guys, because it's either going to have to be against Rutgers or it's going to be against this team at home at Athens, Ohio, um, on Frank Stolage Field, Saturday, September 6th, 4 p.m. start. Uh, the Bobcats are hosting the West Virginia Mountaineers. Now, there again, so many people are going to be picking West Virginia to win, more talent, and all that jazz. And of course, Rich Rodriguez, coming back home to Morgantown, West Virginia, um, assembling all this talent for players. And I get that. But I'm also considering this. If this were much later in the season, like middle of the season or towards the end of the season, then I'd be much more worried about this game. But considering that this is towards the very beginning of the season, I'm not quite sure if Rich Rodriguez is going to have everything 1,000% figured out for the West Virginia Mountaineers at this point, Saturday, September 6th. I don't get that feeling. So if there's ever a game for the Ohio Bobcats to show up and really play, this would be it. Because this is at home. This is in Athens. This is not in Morgantown. I'm hoping people remember that. And so when you have the opportunity to host a team like this, to host a power conference school like this, you got to go all out for it. You got to be mentally prepared. And that's going to be one of the things I'm going to list right now in the corner here. One of the things I like to see, even though it's listed as number 3, mental toughness. I referenced this last year a lot, especially after the game against Kentucky, which was not so good. It was a 40-6 loss to Kentucky last year. I talked about it a lot. Mental toughness. The Bobcats, especially for these first 3 games, they have to be mentally tough. I would like to see the mental toughness of this team improve no matter what happens at the result of these first 3 games. They have to be mentally sharp. They have to be razor sharp focused for these 3 games because they're going to come. These games are going to come at them hard, no doubt about it. And so I'm not saying it's going to be easy uh, concerning West Virginia. Not saying it's going to be easy at all. I have my proposed final score there, 24-21. It will definitely be a back and forth kind of game, no doubt about it. But I do have this feeling that the Bobcats can pull it off. So I'm just going to go with it. People can call me crazy. That's fine. But I'm just going to go with it. 24-21. So basically like a last minute kind of win there. Oh, at Ohio State, Saturday, September 13th. No expectations whatsoever. Zero expectations. I think everybody in the country knows what's going to happen here. So let's not even talk about that. Automatic loss there. But now we get into the last bit of non-conference play against Gardner-Webb. That's an FCS school. The Ohio Bobcats should have no problem whatsoever in getting this win. Gardner-Webb, no disrespect to them, but Ohio all the way there. So that's a win. Now we start MAC play Saturday, September 27th against the Bowling Green Falcons at home at Athens. Yeah, Eddie George, new head coach for Bowling Green. He's got something going initially here for Bowling Green, but it's going to be a learning process as well. I don't expect Bowling Green to be off to the races, off to the marathon that it is Maction. So not right away anyway. So that's going to be a win in my opinion. And Ball State, here's the thing where this is one of those games, October 4th at Ball State, Muncie, Indiana. This is going to be one of those games where on paper, the Ohio Bobcats are clearly the better team in my opinion. I do believe that. But this is one of those games where I think that even though, we are supposed to be the better team, this could be a game that we overlook. Ball State I just get this odd feeling that Ball State is going to be much more focused than what we'd give them credit for, and it's going to be in Muncie, Indiana. So this could be a trap game. Ball State Cardinals, October 4th, and also considering that it's 12 o'clock noon, that's going to start. Um, I don't see the 12 o'clock noon start time being so good for us this year. Something tells me, but that's just my opinion. Next week, October 11th, we're off a bye week. That's great. Um, Next week after that, October 18th, Saturday, hosting the Northern Illinois Huskies in their last season in the MAC. Northern Illinois, they do have some talent. They do. But comparing these two teams just side by side, I do believe the Ohio Bobcats are the better team. I've analyzed both, you know, both teams, their transfer portal additions and losses. Bobcats are better. I truly believe that. That's a win for the Bobcats here. Next week, October 25th, Saturday, at Eastern Michigan, Ypsilanti, Michigan. Um, Hard to get a read on Eastern Michigan, to be honest with you. I'm not sure where this is going with Eastern Michigan, how far along they are with their development. They weren't all that impressive last year. But you never know. Eastern Michigan is one of those teams in the MAC where you don't know whether they're going to be really good or really not so good. In this case, I do believe the Bobcats are going to win. Um, would not surprise me though if Eastern Michigan gave us some trouble here and there, but I do expect Ohio to win that one. Next week, November 1st, we're off again, bye week again. But 3 days right after that, it's not much of a bye week because 3 days right after that, Tuesday, Maction, which I've had a lot of issues with lately. But Tuesday night action, 7 p.m. ESPN2 or CBS, Sports Network. We're hosting the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. That is the Battle of the Bricks rivalry. That's always a tough game. Always. Just think about what we went through twice last year. Miami, Ohio gave us a lot of trouble in the regular season matchup last year. Came back, beat them down 38-3 in the MAC championship game last year. But here, coming off that, November 4th, Tuesday, yes, the Red Hawks, they're going to be pretty angry about that. What happened at the MAC championship game? They're going to be pretty angry. They're going to be focused. They always are. So obviously, give respect to your arch rival. But having said that, this game is at home at Athens. And I do expect the Bobcats to be razor sharp focused for this game, the Battle of the Bricks. So that's a win. Tuesday, November 11th, at Western Michigan. Western Michigan, I've heard some good things about them lately. Promising talent, one of those teams that could possibly jump up in development. But there again, even though the game's in Kalamazoo, I do think the Ohio Bobcats can take care of business up there. That's a win. UMass Minutemen hosting them at Athens, November 18th, Tuesday, action again. Um, yeah, I don't see this as being any real problem for the Ohio Bobcats. I mean, you never know. UMass might have a, you know, once in a blue moon kind of year where they do very well, but I don't see it being this year. Welcome to the MAC, UMass, but you're going to lose the Bobcats, in my opinion. Bobcats win that one. And this last game, though, this is the one that troubles me the most, and that would be at Buffalo, the regular season finale, to close out the regular season at Buffalo. The Buffalo Bulls are one of those top four teams, along with the Bobcats, along with the Redhawks, and along with the Toledo Rockets. The Buffalo Bulls are one of those teams that they really do concern me. And I do think they're going to give us quite a bit of trouble in this game. And I won't be surprised if that ends up being a loss. Regardless of how well we're doing at that point, I will not be surprised if that's the kind of game where the Bulls just really get up, they get really fired up, and they just beat us. That won't surprise me one bit. As far as how that impacts the Mid American Conference standings at the end of the year, who knows? I put a question mark at the end there, so who knows? But yeah, I am hoping, generally speaking, guys, for those of you watching, I am generally hoping for an 8-4 regular season finish for the Ohio Bobcats. However, we get those 8 wins. Who knows? We're going to see what happens here. I just hope that we finish at that 8-4 mark. that would be good enough as far as development goes for this team. So looking ahead, yeah, if we can get to 8-4 for this season, that would be a success. I would call that a success for this year. And hopefully we can get back to the MAC championship game and defend that MAC title. So things I like to see, first of all, I already mentioned the third one, mental toughness improving. I referenced it again about the game against Kentucky last year. Did not like that game whatsoever, and I'm hoping we don't have games like that again anytime soon. Um, yeah, the game against Ohio State, you know, that's going to be as close as an automatic loss as ever. So yeah, I just hope that we can hang around for a little bit before, of course, Ohio State, national champions, they pull away and do their thing. So yeah, but also either Rutgers or West Virginia, I do believe it's super important that we get one of those games, that we actually take one of those games, and that we show that mental toughness that I keep talking about. We have to show it. Rutgers, West Virginia, pick one. Get up for get up for those games, win one of them, finish that gauntlet, that hard gauntlet with a 1-2 record, beat down Gardner Webb, you're back up to 2-2, and then you're off to MAC, conference play. I mean, it's easy to see. And, another thing I like to see, going back to point number one here, expanding the RPO, expanding the offense for what we do. I'm glad to have Parker Navarro back as our starting quarterback. We know what he can do. He's a mobile quarterback. He can run. Uh, he can throw the ball very well too. He can throw well on the run. And so when you can dial up plays like that, where you can get Parker Navarro into great space, whether he runs or throws, it's going to create a lot of new possibilities for this offense. And so considering that, you also have to have people around him running well as well. And that especially means the running back room. C.A. Bingura, Duncan Broom, Dorian Boyland, just to name a few. Uh, yeah, if you can get all of them going in some way, like, even distribution between all those running backs. Because one of the problems I had about the running back situation last year was that, yeah, Anthony Tyus the third, he was great, but we relied so heavily on him that nobody else really got going. This year, I'm hoping that there will be more of an even distribution between running backs this year, C.A. Bingura and others. So, yeah, if we can do that, we'll be just fine with the running game. And for wide receivers, we have a loaded wide receiver room with potential that I do believe some guys are going to break out and do well. And I believe they should. But expanding the RPO, expanding the offense, like I'm hoping that head coach Brian Smith is considering adding. I'm hoping that he's considering adding like new formations to the offense, like brand new formations, not just stuff that we've seen before in football history, but just something new. I'm hoping I see that because when you have the talent that you have on this team, they can get out in space and run. You got to start making game plans around that. You got to like put that at the core of your game plan. So if you create a formation that tailors to a Parker Navarro, to a C.A. Bingura, to all the speedy guys we have with the running backs and the wide receivers, if you can do that, then go for it. Hopefully, I'll get to see something new when it comes to formations on offense, trick plays. That goes without saying. I'm hoping that we can add some sort of like 2007 Boise State kind of thing to our offense. That would be nice to see. But again, we'll see what happens with that. And point number two, before I close this, point number two of this list that I have, what I'd like to see is that the front seven on defense, they got to get established. They got to get firmly established because we did lose quite a bit of talent on that front seven area on defense. Now, the secondary, we look great, especially with all the additions via transfer portal, but also the guys coming back in the secondary. We look great there in the secondary. So I'm not concerned about the defensive backs at all. But front seven on D, we have to have our identity established right away. And we're going to see it right away with the game at Rutgers, what our front seven is made of. And I hope they're mentally sharp. I'm hoping they're mentally tough going into Piscataway, New Jersey. They're going to have to be if they're going to make any noise here this year. You got to set the tone on defense. I'm hoping if any Ohio Bobcats players are listening to this right now, and again, I don't know who's listening to this, but if any Ohio Bobcats defensive players are listening to this, especially on the front seven, you guys got to show up. You guys got to show up and do something. Just do something and just, you know, create all sorts of chaos out there for the opposing quarterbacks. I mean, what do you got to lose at this point, guys? Show no fear. Have no fear about what you're doing. You got nothing to lose. Go out and ball. Go out and show the country, show the world what you guys are made of, what you can do as a unit together. Let's just see. And also, don't be afraid to use different defensive formations as well. Not just on offense, but also defense. If you can change it up on D with the front seven or front six, whatever, just, use it. Don't be afraid to use it. Don't be afraid to experiment. And don't be afraid to attack, even if it is Rutgers or West Virginia or, dare I say it, Ohio State. Go out and attack. See what happens. I don't want to see any conservative game plan going on here with these first three games because we have to show out. We have to show the country what we're made of if we're going to be taken seriously going forward, especially if we want to, if the current college football playoff format is going to stay the way it is for a couple more years, we have to show everyone else what we're about. That we're not just a one time conference champion and nothing else. We have to show the country what we're about. This is our time, guys. Ohio Bobcats players and coaches, if any of you are listening to this is our time. I hope you realize that. This is going to be our time to show what we're made of. And I hope that's the feeling in that locker room in Athens, Ohio. So, anyway, that is it with me. That is it with Bobcat Corner, episode 58. Hope you guys like this. Did the best I could. If you like this content, please give this video a like. Please share this with other college football fans. Um, if you like what I do on STV Castle in general on this channel, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and all that. And yeah, I'll be back with more content very soon. This is Stephen Vitt reporting. Take care, guys. Bye.